So if eating more species leads to more species of microbes in your stomach, which leads to better gut health, how do I increase the number of species that I'm eating? Welcome to Tingledom. Hello, my tinglings. It is so wonderful to see you. I know you will have a few videos back from me by now, but for me, I've recorded only 2 videos in the last 6 weeks. And they're both map videos. And so this is my first time looking at you again. So I'm very excited. About almost 2 years ago now, I had to take antibiotics, and it really has escaped my mind, the whole topic of it. But I vaguely remember taking antibiotics because I'm very militant about making sure that I take the whole course of antibiotics. And you should too. Because one of the threats to our medical system in the future will be antibiotic resistance, and you can fight it by taking a full course of antibiotics when you do take antibiotics. But I guess it was I've worked my way backwards to realize that I feel like my gut health has not been as good since I had that last course of antibiotics. I've been burping a lot more. You all will be privy to some of my belly sounds, and I think those have gotten more pervasive since that time as well. And I've also then had a little bit of acid reflux and that sort of thing, which I don't think is related, but I have been worried about my gut health since that time. And so Jill Brookie, our little pet possum, he got sick probably about 6 months ago because he ate a lot of oil. And we took him into the vet, and they told us that his gut flora is probably a bit out because it would have basically, all the bad bacteria in his stomach would have been fed by the oil, and it would have drowned out or killed off the positive bacteria. And they said that the best way for us to help him would be to get him lots of native browse, and that would help his gut flora. So I had that going on in the back of my head, and I've been thinking probably over the past 2 or 3 months that I think there's probably actually a problem in the balance of my own gut flora. And I've been wondering, well, how do you actually fix human gut flora? Because with him it was, okay, all the positive bacteria generally will be on native plants out there, out there in the world with all of that going on. So it made me curious. Obviously I know about probiotics and yogurt. And then on Quora, one of my guilty pleasures, I spend way too much time on Quora. I found this really interesting information about and I don't think I was even looking up a question, I think it just came up on my feed, about a tribe in Tanzania, the Hadza tribe, who are called hunter-gatherers. I haven't looked in to see if that's actually the correct term. That's for another video. But anyway, hunter-gatherers is what we'll say for now. So they're a hunter-gatherer tribe. And it said that they eat up to 600 species across a year of different foods, obviously. And they have some of the most diverse microbiomes that have been studied. And I think they have almost twice as much bacterial diversity as the typical Western diet would. Or maybe others that are recorded, so it might be like Mediterranean, might be even better. But anyway. And so this lit a fire in my mind, because I then have been wondering, well, how many species am I actually eating? What species are there? And does eating more species, will that improve my gut health? Because introducing more positive probiotic bacteria through yogurts and that sort of thing help with the quantity of bacteria, but they don't help the diversity. And obviously being a conservationist and knowing the many benefits from much biodiversity, I was thinking, well, maybe my microbiome biodiversity would be helpful. And so I set off on this journey. So the first thing I was curious about is just how many species am I actually eating now? Which I didn't fully actually go through that step. But what I did do is I went through all of the fruit, vegetables, and kind of all the top cereal crops and meat crops that you can find fairly easily, and made a list of how many different items, I guess, that I could find. So I made a list, and I think it was about 162 items, which is really interesting to think how small that is. You know, it's just, and that's including things I barely ever eat, you know, pomegranates, oyster mushrooms, king brown mushrooms, dates, figs, etc., etc. And so at 162, and if you look at the number of, and this was basically, so this was going off of, so Kohl's is the place I do most of my shopping, somewhat, but anyway, it's the major supermarket I do a lot of my shopping at. And so it was just basically what's available at their fruit and vegetable section. And then, you know, have wheat, rice, beans, etc., etc. And so I had 162 on the list. And then of that, I wanted to know, okay, so how many of these things are actually the same species? Because I have this written down. So you have in the brassicas. So for a scientific name, you'll have brassica like olearica. And the brassica is like your surname, so it's a little bit less specific than the full, it's still the full species name. But anyway, so just in brassica olearica, or I don't know how to say that, but we have broccoli, Brussels sprouts, cabbage, cauliflower, collard greens, kailan, those are all the same species and still within the same genus. So just one step up, and that's really the unit I'm actually working on for most of my things. With brassica, you have bok choy, rutabaga, turnip, and canola oil. Those are all brassicas as well. And I mean brassica, the genus, there's also the family, the brassicas, which would include mustards and that sort of thing, but I'm just talking about the genus. Whereas you also have like leeks, onions, shallots, garlic, and scallions. Those all are in the genus Allium, but they're different species. Whereas if you look at something like mushrooms, you have your button mushrooms, portobello mushrooms, swish brown, all of those are the same species. But if you get to enoki mushrooms, shiitake mushrooms, king brown mushrooms, oyster mushrooms, these are completely different genera. So a lot of diversity that way. And so what I was able to find was in my list of 162 that there are 110 different genera, basically, that I have easy access to without necessarily having to go to a specialist food area. If I go to Asian supermarkets or other markets, I'd have, access to probably a few more species, but I still think I don't think my genera would go up to even 200, probably. So for me to have easy access to probably about 110 genera. And so I've also on my phone made a list of my different species, which is interesting. So I have different genera. So I have, if I have broccoli, that wipes out all of the brassicas. If I have blueberry or cranberry, that wipes out that one. If I have any sort of onion, that'll wipe out your allium. And so it's probably not actually got a lot of, but it should have 110 genus on there. Genera, I should say. And so during the month of January, I've been, let me see if I can really try and push up the number of species that I'm eating. I say species, but obviously I'm working on genus, but I just say species. Very non-technical of me, I know. And so I've eaten lychee, I tried parsnips, I've gotten dates, I've got a white radish in my fridge right now, which I think I looked up a cucumber and radish salad. I'll probably have that. But so I've, tried a lot of different things. I've got millet, sunflower seeds, poppy seeds, all in a bread that I made. And so I've been trying really hard to get more diversity into my diet. And then the other day, I was looking to see how many I had done, and I was thinking, I guess I kind of had a target, like, if I could get to 100, that'd be really good. And I had made it to 60 with a lot of extra effort. And so I was just thinking, I'm probably not actually eating a lot of different species very often. So that was it's been a very telling experience, and I'm still going through with it. it will be a continuing journey as I try to figure it out. But I guess probably what you're all wondering is, how has my gut health been? And I have been noticing, used to be I had these really kind of chesty burps, like I would feel a burp from up here, but it's not like that satisfying, like you feel like air's actually getting out. It's just a really pressure-filled burp. So I'm burping less, and when I do burp, it's more of a belly burp down from the belly, and so it'll be more satisfying and feel like I'm actually getting air out when I do burp. But interestingly, I think the thing I found the most helpful for my gut as I've been going through is Kombucha. I don't know how it's pronounced. Because when I've had that, I've really noticed a decrease in my burping. So that's been really helpful. So those beneficial bacteria are helpful. I've been having more yogurt too, but the kombucha is the one I really noticed. So I've actually tried making fermented soda as well. I made a fermented apple and blackcurrant, and I just put one in the fridge, a fermented pineapple juice, which is really good. It's a bit acidic, but it's really good. And then I have a fermented grape juice, which isn't wine because it's a whey soda. It starts with bacteria, so those actually eat through and make bubbles, so they eat the sugars, convert them to vinegar, to alcohol, but then they eat the alcohol and turns to vinegar. So it's kind of a vinegary juice. So anyway, so that is the beginning of my journey, and there'll be much more to tell. But the conclusion of the story as of right now is it's very hard to eat lots of species in a modern diet. So the Hadza have got us way beat in the diversity of their foods, which helps the diversity of their microbiomes. That is the truth.